Welcome back to Studio F. We're on Fast Times at Willy B. We're reviewing Jaws 3. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell!
Welcome back to Fast Times at Willy B. I'm Willy B. I've got Rosie with me. Rosie, how we doing?
Good.
So we'll be taking it to Jaws 3 now. Continuing through the tetralogy review. Lost Uncle Rob after the first two. He wasn't too fond of the idea
He didn't want to hang?
of doing 3 and 4, which, can you blame the guy?
No, really no.
So this will take us to 1983. We got Joe Alves in the director's chair. He did a lot in working in the sets on most of these movies, so he had his foot in the door, per se, when it came to the entire franchise. But here, he gets the big title, the director. We've got some names. We've got Dennis Quaid, who, has gone on to do a lot of memorable roles. And he plays a grown-up Mike Brody in this one.
Okay.
We've got Bess Armstrong playing the love interest. We got Leah Thompson for all the Back to the Future fans out there.
I love her.
She has a little role in this one. So some familiar faces, to say the least.
All right. I just heard that Leah Thompson had her first grandchild recently.
Congratulations to her.
Which is so crazy because we see her in all these young roles.
Yeah.
And she's a grandma now, so that's pretty cool.
So we'll start with the good. And unfortunately, this one doesn't have too much to say in this category. I like the concept.
Okay.
I think a shark taking over SeaWorld is a really cool idea.
Yeah.
I think less computer-generated effects and more practical done here.
Yeah.
And maybe some tweaks to the story and some different facets can make this one a lot more interesting, a lot more entertaining, and just better all around. So I'll put the concept in the good. I never hated the idea of the SeaWorld takeover, especially something the first two movies does so well is creates that tension and that fear that you have to be in the water. This one, unfortunately, doesn't really have that.
Yeah, you're not really in the water much except for, like, the performers and, like, the staff. And it's not just, like, the regular person isn't in the water. I mean, because they kind of were, but because I think the like, newscaster fella said there was, like, 7 people. I don't remember the number. It was a very little amount, but yeah.
But the thing that this did, I would throw this in the good too, where it created some fear and tension, was in the underwater tunnels. I do remember I watched all 4 of the Jaws at a pretty young age. I think 1 and 4 are the most nostalgic for me because those were the 2 I had on tape. 2 and 3 I still got to visit at a fairly young age. So all 4 of them have some nostalgia for me at some sense. Just 1 and 4 have a little more. But I remember the first time I watched this, I was like, wow, that would be terrifying.
Yeah,
Getting stuck in the tunnels at an aquarium while there's a 35-foot shark out there.
Yeah.
And the water's filling up. You're in a group of people you don't know. The water's probably not warm either.
Yeah.
And you're just waiting there hoping, not even knowing, you're hoping that somebody's fixing the issue.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, 2 of my biggest fears.
Yeah.
Claustrophobia and drowning.
Yeah. Thankfully, the water stops pretty quickly. But
I think I would be okay with that, but that just that immediate fear would trigger something in me.
Yeah. Another thing I'll throw in the good. There is one scene where I love the cinematography, and it's fairly early in the movie. This movie has some decent cinematography, especially when you're getting some fun shots of SeaWorld. But there's one where it's like, it's either sunrise or sunset, but it's a really orange sky, and there's a guy standing at the gate, and it's just a shot of the ocean with the gate, and it's beautiful.
I think we actually paused it there for a second.
We did, and that's why I got to take it in a little extra.
Okay.
But so there's some cool shots in this movie for sure. I don't think any of the acting is horrible. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Dennis Quaid, and that's usually a pretty good performance. Bess Armstrong was probably, honestly, my standout as Kate. But I didn't think any of the acting was bad by any means. But that might be it for the good.
Yeah. The only thing I have in the good is I know they probably, well, they were definitely real, but anytime we've seen, like, the dolphins, like, up out of the water, like, doing their tricks and stuff.
Frame. Yeah.
Well, yeah. but you could tell that they were real. So I wish we could have used a little bit more of that. I know it's hard to back then to film a good shot under the water of them swimming, but I did love like how realistic it looked when they did finally come out of water and do their tricks and things like that, because it was obviously real.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I really like those shots. It was really nostalgic. Growing up going to SeaWorld.
Yeah.
So it was cool seeing like the whole like Shamu thing and
yeah.
the big like SeaWorld marquee, and it was just, I don't know, nostalgic, and I'm glad that never happened in real life.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So we'll hop over to the meh then. Okay. Unfortunately, a lot of my stuff probably falls in the bad category.
Okay.
So when it comes to meh, I guess this is where I put the story. Because like I said, I like the concept. It's just, for a movie set at SeaWorld, which is supposed to be such an exciting place, also featuring a Jaws story, it's pretty boring at times. So I can't say it's good. It's only an hour and 40-something minutes, and it drags at times. It's not the easiest hour and 45-minute watch, but I don't know. There are parts of the story I enjoy, and there's a lot of parts where I'm like, okay, we could have probably done without this.
Yeah, some of the like effects that they added just for the use of the 3D effect, which we don't even get. Yeah. Because we are watching it in 3D at home on the TV, but just like random things,
like little jump scares with eels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It honestly, with how it's paced, a lot of the way it's paced breaks up any chance it has to have some tension or fear built.
Yeah.
I mean, the most fear-building scene is probably that scene where they discover the sharks in the park. Yes. And even then, it's just like,
I agree.
Unfortunately, I fell a little flat there. Anything else in the meh for you?
I don't think so. Okay. I think I would agree with all of the things that you mentioned. The story, I don't know. It was all right. I like the nostalgia of it, like I said before. But there were some things that fell a little flat for me as well.
Yeah. So we'll hop over to the bad then. And this is where just about everything else falls. The first big bad is obviously the CGI. It's the 80s. Computer generated wasn't where it's at now. Not even where it was at in the 90s, with movies like Jurassic Park's always the first one that pops in my head. Yeah. It's rough. Anytime. Yes. And it's crazy because something the first two movies do, because they were dealing with animatronic issues, is they showed the shark less. You don't see the shark a lot. And because of that, me and Uncle Rob talked about it, it really builds tension. You're either seeing like from
wondering where it's where
you just hear that dun, 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 and you see something moving over the water. This one shows the shark too much, and it's a shame because the shark is fake throughout most of this. It's computer generated. It's not good.
Yeah. So I'm going to mention that I would pay quite a fair share of money to actually see this in 3D, so I can get the idea. Yeah. Because I feel that the shots with the shark swimming about, or the little yellow like submarine, not really a submarine because you get wet in it, whatever it was, those were supposed to like pop out, obviously, and I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt, and say that it's better in 3D.
I don't think it would be.
I don't know, but it
wouldn't be.
And it was just bad.
It's really bad.
The arm. Yeah. And the shark and the little submarine thingy and just
the tuna head at the beginning. Yes. Yes. The shark coming out the window and how the glass breaks, that's horrible. Oh my god. Anytime they're in the tunnels, you can tell the tunnels aren't real and that's green screened. Mm-hmm. Just too much computer generation for a movie. and too much computer generation for a movie with the computer generation being as poor as it is.
Yeah.
It really kills a movie for you.
Yeah, I wish they would have like found an aquarium to film at.
Yeah.
Or heck, found an actual SeaWorld.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably could have paid them some money to.
Which they probably did for a lot of the stuff.
Yes, but like actually use the inside of it.
Yeah, I mean maybe it was the 80s. Maybe the tunnel system just wasn't a thing yet.
I know, but
I don't know the answer to that.
Me
The
neither.
real answer to that, so I'm not gonna go out and say that. But
it would have been nice to find something.
Yeah.
Maybe to make it more appealing to the eyes for sure. I know it. I mean, I'm sure the budget wasn't huge for this.
I mean, they got some big names. And
yeah, that's true.
You know, it's
that's
Universal,
true.
but
yeah.
Other bads, the shark growls. Sharks don't have vocal cords, in case you didn't know.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty bad. I don't know. When I talked about the story getting boring is when they capture the baby shark. That whole lull in the movie just feels unnecessary to me.
Oh yeah. Well, I think I see where you're going with that. They thought that was like the biggest thing, and then they realized it wasn't.
Yeah.
So I can understand, Yeah. But I agree. Just like, let's just stick with one.
Yeah.
And we could have saved some time and maybe put it useful someplace else. I agree.
Yeah, and then another bad for me is when we do have the big shark kind of wreaking havoc on SeaWorld part. The bumper boat gets tipped and Leah Thompson gets bit. You see the blood. They go in the ambulance and we don't hear anything else.
Yeah, I thought about that as soon as the movie ended. I was like, oh, I wonder what had happened to her. Also, another thing to add to that, I was going to mention, and I know that I've obviously never been bitten by a shark, but I feel like she would have been more, what's the word? I don't even know. Like, she didn't have much emotion happening. I'm sure she was in shock.
More reactive.
Yeah. She was probably in shock, and, because shock, like, shuts the body down.
Yeah.
And you can't, like, think or do anything. So maybe she was in shock from that happening. But there was, like, very little emotion, like, no, like, screaming.
Yeah.
Like, when she came out of the water, she was just like, oh. I mean, she wasn't, like, nonchalant about it. Like, you could tell she was in pain. But, like, everyone else is screaming. And then the one person that actually got bit by the shark in the scene is just pretty, like, laid back.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's a bad actor. I'm just, maybe that was just how it was written. And maybe she was in shock. But I just thought that was kind of like there was no, like, not really excitement, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? There was no, like, wow factor to that happening to me. Because there was no emotion behind it.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's just, unfortunately, in my opinion, really killed by the effects.
Yeah,
definitely. It's not all bad, but
no,
it's still a pretty rough movie when all's told as far as writing and stuff goes. But, man, when it comes to the technical side, you're really let down with Jaws 3D.
Yeah, I agree.
So hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. What do you want to leave off with Jaws 3, and what do you give it out of 10?
So I've heard some mixed reviews on this one before watching it. It is not as bad as I thought it was going to be, so that is good. I liked the concept of the story, the outline. I liked seeing some big names. I mean, it's kind of a middle of the road for me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stick it at like a 4, 5.
Okay.
Ish.
Okay.
I don't even know where to put it because I say middle of the road, which would be a 5, but I don't even know if I want to give it a 5. So let's just go with a 4.
Yeah. It does have some nostalgia for me. So,
definitely.
It's cool in that sense. I know it has nostalgia for you for SeaWorld. It has nostalgia for me in actually seeing it at a young age. I enjoy the act. Like, I enjoy seeing Dennis Quaid and Leah Thompson. I think Bess Armstrong is really good in her role as Kate. This is just a movie that's really bogged down by bad effects and some boring moments. But I don't absolutely hate this movie. I know this movie has a bad rap, and I know the fourth one does too. But honestly, the first two I have a really good time with. I think one's a masterpiece. I think two is a pretty good sequel. 3 and 4 are bad movies, but I still have a good enough time with them.
Yeah.
But still, with that being said, these effects really have always killed this movie for me. I always liked the animatronic in the first two.
Yeah.
So the third one, that's what kills it for me. So I'm just gonna go 3 out of 10.
Okay.
I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen. There are moments where I enjoy it. It does have nostalgia, but it's just it's really, really, really taken down by those bad effects. Because, in my opinion, when you're talking about a shark movie or a Jaws movie, the shark is the biggest seller.
Yeah, definitely.
Shark's not good in this movie.
No.
So,
no, not at all.
But yeah, Jaws 3. Unfortunately, we'll get into the fourth one next, but I will tease the fourth one by saying this is my least favorite of the 4.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
if that shocks you, you'll have to stick around and see what I have to say about. That'll do it for Jaws 3. Rosie, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. Go check out Jaws 1 and 2's reviews. And then stay tuned. Jaws 4 coming as well. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.
Peace and love.